Cool.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's Monday. Today, I've decided to call it Modular Monday on L&D Talk. My name is Brent Schlenker. I am the Chief Learning Officer for litmus.com. You can read my blogs at litmus.com/blog. You can sign up for our event that's coming up, C3 in May. So if you're in sales, marketing, customer support, customer experience, or learning or e-learning, anything like that, C3 is a great place to hang out. So go check it out at litmus.com/C3. Welcome.
Howdy.
Here we are talking modular course training on a Monday morning.
How better to start your Monday?
How better to start your Monday, really? Well, hello, Positive Energy. Thanks for being here and being amazing. Just in case you're wondering, this particular blab tends to be focused on learning and development and corporate training stuff. So welcome to stick around and hang out for our conversation today. But, if it gets really boring, that's why. So, all right. So we were talking about modular course development, and Anthony, you gave me some outstanding points. One, modular design is great, makes for easy reuse of content. But one of the difficulties with modular design is making sure that all the modules go together and don't preclude the inclusion of each other. Please expand.
So I think, so the first one's pretty obvious. If you say, let's take a topic that I don't know a whole lot about. Say you want to learn about XAPI, for example. Because I have to find a way to weave that into every conversation.
Absolutely.
Which makes my vet visits very interesting, by the way, just so you can imagine. So let's say you're looking at a course on something like XAPI, or there's so many other things. You can break that down into different modules. This is what an actor is. This is what an object is. This is what a verb is. The syntax, JSON, blah, blah, blah. You can take all of those things, and if you want to rebuild that course, or if you want to use maybe your module on JSON for a different API or for programming in general, whatever, okay, you can reuse that. So the reuse part is really obvious. Where you need to be careful, though, is you don't want a case where I'm building one module and I'll pick on Mark as building another module. And since Mark is all jaunty in his tie and everything, he will, of course, create his module to be very professional, have a very serious tone and muted colors to reflect that. And then I come in with my techno hippie babble, and I've got all this loud noise and loud colors, and my verbiage is very different. I'm presenting things in a very different style. You don't want to have that because that shocks the user, quite frankly, where, okay, now I'm here and I'm kind of used to this style, and then all of a sudden, bam, here comes Krusty the Clown to talk about actors. You have to make sure you've got kind of an even keel in tone, how the information's presented, your color palettes, all of those things. They have to be compatible. You can't just throw stuff together and expect it to work.
I concur. Mark, any additions to that?
No, I agree. And in the notion of resharing and modular, yeah, you're right. The color scheme, the font, everything. If it breaks to whatever you're going to share and reuse, how do you tie it all again? And there's some glue stuff that might help, but getting down to the color and scheme and very specific details of any item, it gets tricky.
Yeah, hard to do with interfaces and stuff like that, right? And it's nice when that kind of stuff is already built in.
I think the irony of it is kind of the people who've made this problem even worse for us. You look at Amazon, Google, Apple is probably the biggest offender because now folks, especially kids these days, we all joke about, now we're of course old enough, we remember the Sony Walkman. And,
oh yeah.
And we remember having several of them because they didn't hold up real well and we didn't take care of them, okay. now you're talking to kids who've never had life without a cell phone, without an iPad, an iPod, whatever.
Yep.
Look at Apple is the quintessential example of a walled garden, of a complete ecosystem where everything looks and acts the same, even if they don't have anything to do with each other.
Right.
And so now there really is that high expectation that everything will seamlessly join together, regardless what it's about or where it came from. And my experience, and I'll just throw this out, my experience has been that is the biggest problem I have in talking to L&D managers or the business folks, is getting them to understand you can't just throw information on a page. Style matters, and especially with modular design, you've got to keep that style consistent.
So let me just push back and play a little devil's advocate here. So why does design matter? What if you did have to just put stuff together and push it out? Would people still be able to learn, or is that so wrong that it's not worth doing?
I think there's limits to how much an individual can absorb and retain. And by chunking things smaller and then repeating that chunk, I think you get a better absorption of the learning itself, and to maintain it, and then almost to the point where you could actually reuse and share that and take what you've learned and help others learn the same thing. So
yes, but I guess what I'm getting at is I think what we're talking about is consistency across modules. And I get what you're saying about, one module and what you can do with it, which I think is great if it stands on its own. But then what if the next module is not consistent in the way that we're discussing it? Does it matter, is my question. Does it really matter? I mean, we're saying that it matters, but I want to understand, why do we say it matters? And are there any conditions where we can get away with it?
So I guess let me ask you a couple questions real quick.
Yep.
Brent, do you like milk? You like to drink milk?
Yes.
Okay. Do you like orange juice?
Yes.
Very different flavors, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and I've done this, and I made a complete fool of myself in the middle of my third grade lunchroom. It was horrible. So, unbeknownst to me, my father had given me milk for lunch every day for like a month, okay? I didn't know we were out of milk the one day. He knew I liked orange juice, so he put orange juice in my thermos for me. I did not know. So here's this opaque thermos. You cannot see it. I go, milk, yeah. Does about a big old swig of that. And you can imagine, I did set the, expectoration record for the school at about 30 feet. Even though I like these two flavors, I was really expecting one. I was in the mindset that I'm going to consume something that had a certain flavor and a certain texture and consistency and everything. And I got something else that, even though I like it, man, I was not expecting it.
Okay. So, but did you then drink it once you realized what it was?
After the laughter died down and I cleaned off my shirt, yeah, I did eventually. But I had to go through that shock first. And, there's time lost there. There's a fair bit. There's at least a mouthful of orange juice lost. There's things that play into that. The mind works the same way, though, I get into this mindset where I'm going to be looking at a certain color palette. I'm going to be looking at text in a certain way. I'm going to be hearing certain kinds of sounds. And if all of a sudden, bam, something comes in that's very different, it does take me a moment, even though, yeah, I'm a relatively intelligent human being. I mean, I'm an egghead, obviously. So, I can adapt to that. But that takes a minute to do, and there's time lost there, and there may be information lost there if it takes me a few pages to get into that groove. It's not as efficient. Whereas if everything's in a relatively consistent format, and obviously there's variances that play into that. If I go from hunter green to field green, I think, okay. But if I go from green to pink, that's a bit of a shock.
Okay, so
there's efficiency in place there.
I totally get what you're saying, but let me push back or counter with another argument. So there is science that says we don't pay attention to things that we are used to seeing, that we can gain people's attention by shocking them, by showing them something very, very different, and that they are more likely to pay attention to that than something that they've already seen before.
But what are they paying attention to is the question. So if I'm familiar with some of those studies too, and if you read them though, they don't actually say what they claim to say. And by that I mean, let's say Mary Had a Little Lamb, okay? It's a poem we all know. And I throw that on a background that everybody's familiar with. I'm struggling to come up with an example. I think you see where I'm going with this. If I put it on an example, on a picture or something that we're all comfortable with, everything, okay, we're all comfortable with that. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to read the text. Now, if I throw it on something else where it's bright and pink and there's all this noise and everything, am I paying attention to what's different, or am I paying attention to that text? You see what I mean? Like, am I now, you've got my attention, but am I paying attention to the background and the stuff that's different? Or am I paying attention to the subject matter that is important?
And I think individuals,
sounds like you got
other individuals might take it in a different way. Personally, I like the change, and I was like, oh, somebody changed something. Somebody's trying to make me think, and I'm kind of built that way. So I appreciate the notion of, oh, something changed, but oh, wait a minute, it's really the same kind of thing. But I'm not, that's my personal idea. But I don't think a lot of people are this way. I don't necessarily think the same.
I think what we're saying is, if you do it by design is one thing. If you do it, or if it occurs without any sort of thought behind it, if the intent was to use background colors or something like that to be the thing that re-engages somebody after a certain period of time, and you see that works, I would say that probably ends up being a good thing. And again, it all depends on your audience, right? We all know, we're all assuming that we've already talked to our audience and figured out who our audience is, and we've got a pretty decent understanding of who they are, what they do, what the context of their learning is, and how they tick. Yes. So I think intent is really important, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at in a roundabout sort of way, is that are we intentional in the design changes or not? And I think that circles us back around to Anthony's original statement that if you're not, maybe it's not such a good thing. But if we are, and we've proven that it works, then it's a good strategy.
I think, are we? No, of course not. Should we be? I think is probably the more appropriate question.
Yeah, and I guess the other piece is the shock and awe embedded in the content, or is it in the interface and sort of if you've got some sort of fluff around it, right? I mean, let's say you've got one particular module that's just all text. You want people to read something. And then the next module is just a straight ahead video. You want them to watch a video. So text on a page and a video, two very, very different media. And so kind of trying to build some consistency between those two things may not be all that important.
Well, I think then you fall down to things like the navigation. And again, I'm assuming there's multiple pages. I mean, it's an incredibly complex thing to talk about, obviously.
Yeah.
But now you're looking at, is the navigation panel the same, or is that, what if I should go to the next page, things like that. Then you look at that. As long as there's some familiarity, I think that okay, this is how I work with this. All right, I don't need to learn this other ancillary stuff. I can focus on the center screen. I can focus on the content. I can focus on what I'm trying to learn here. I think that's where it's important.
Yeah, I think the interface. You're right. The interface needs to sort of disappear. Where I think the content needs to be presented in as frictionless a way as possible. We need to be able to get to that content without having to be thinking too much about how we get there or how we get to the next thing. Once we get to know that navigation, it does sort of tend to disappear if it's consistent and the same all the way through the entire experience as we go along. And then we're free to change up our content a little bit, I think, and if we've got some variations in our content, I think it's more acceptable on the learner side to go maybe from a text to a video to a quiz to maybe clicking through a PowerPoint presentation.
Not PowerPoint.
Well, maybe not PowerPoint, but you know what I mean. A video of something that looks like slides going by. I don't know. Yeah, that was last week's conversation. We won't add to that.
Yeah, you had all the good ones last week when I couldn't be here. I did not.
I know. Sorry.
Something that missed my notice. Yeah.
We didn't purposely try to exclude you, Anthony. We really didn't. Okay, so modular course design. What else about modular course design is good and or bad?
I think looking at, I'm a developer, so I look at things a lot from the development standpoint. I think the other nice thing about this is because it can be broken up, and you really want to make sure also not only the front end looks the same, but also the back end looks the same. And you're using the same variables, same coding style. So you can Lego these things together, update them. It can be incredibly powerful because not only do you have that reuse aspect, but you also have, let's say you're doing, what was it, the farmers commercials where J.K. Simons, it was J.K. Simons, I think is the actor's name. Would go around and he'd give these little snippets of information to the new insurance agents. You know the ones I'm talking about?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he'd be like, 50% of break-ins happen when the people are
yes.
When you go on vacation or you're traveling, your risk of burglary increases 50% or whatever, and it took raccoon stealing a necklace, things like that. I'm just kind of thinking, with the insurance agency, okay, well, these two modules aren't changing, but this one changes a lot. Regulatory updates every year. Or, think of H&R Block. It's tax week, folks. Your taxes in. Those laws change every 15 minutes. Well, now I can change just that one module. I don't have to republish the entire course, which can be a monumental effort. So, there's not only from the consumption, but also from the authoring and replacing, that can be really great.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. You mentioned that development too, and development makes it easier to spread the work across a team. I think as long as you're able to be consistent, but then I think a modular course design lends itself to that upkeep and maintenance piece, which also then fits into this idea of an iterative development model too, right? Or a process. So you can start by just getting some content out there that maybe isn't exactly perfect, exactly what you want, but now you're able to at least push it out in a course and get some feedback. And as people say, yes, we like that content, or no, we then can go back and change it and make it better, or and sort of go with an agile style of course development.
Well, and also take that to its logical end. You can also, when appropriate, you can actually start pushing a course out before it's even done.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of saying, hey, we have to write these 100 modules. Well, you can't have any training until they're all done. Well, we're going to give you the first 5, and then every week we're going to add one, whatever, to bring people in.
Absolutely, and that's exactly one of the strategies that I've been pitching for a long time that I've used successfully in the past, and it always has sort of blown my mind that we did even at one point gather all this content right from these, like, as part of our job as instructional designers. We would go out, find all the content, do all of our analysis, and in the meantime we've discovered all of this great content, but we sort of hoard it, thinking that now we have to turn it into something like gold, and it's going to take us 6 months to do it, and we're going to put our instructional design pixie dust all over it, and bing bang boom, we're going to make something really pretty and perfect right out the chute. And I think we all know where that ends up going, and you never nail it right the first time. So I think Craig's not here today, but one of the things that I've been he's quoted me on this before, but need trumps quality a lot of the times too, right? I mean, if the content is really needed, why are we hoarding it to build it into the perfect course when we can take that content and, to your point, just let's push it out in the first module and not wait to get it out there so that people can access it. And a lot of times the learning management system, or, whatever systems the training department has at its disposal, is the best tool to disseminate that content. And so why not use it and get it out there, tell people that it's there, then start rolling into marketing phase and getting that work done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Mark, what's that link to that you just tossed in there?
Hawaii University, and it's a nice little 8-10 steps of creating, and with a university slant on it.
Ah, interesting. All right, I'll have to check that out. Definitely have to check that out. Okay, so modular course design allows us to do a sort of an iterative development process. We've talked about consistency and needing to keep a consistent interface. What else? What are some examples of other industries that have modular products, or do have a modular design process? Or could we equate it with could the automobile industry be considered modular?
I would think so, in that design development and implementation is very compartmentalized. You've got this you've got this group that just designs the doors, you've got this group that designs the windshield, you've got this group that designs the engine, you've got this group that designs the rear of how the car looks from the rear, how the car looks from the front. They're all different teams that come together. And their consistency has got to be 100%. Obviously, that car has got to fit together. So I mean, that's kind of a modular approach.
Yeah, I'd say so. What about and their manufacturing process? I would think is modular too, right? I mean, the old Ford production line, I would say, is modular. Right? Get all this work done here, get all this work done there, put those two together. Now get all the work done here, move it down the line, get it out the door.
Yeah, cars aren't built the way they were, years and years ago, where you had a mile, you had a one, I don't know how long the assembly line actually was, but literally you started with a frame on one end and you drove a car out the other. It's not like that anymore.
No,
yeah, a lot of modular parts, and I guess the standards also. I'm not sure if this is so much the case anymore, but I mean, I can remember, an alternator is an alternator is an alternator on most. If you're talking about Fords, Chevys, whatever, you go get an alternator, and there's pretty much one that works across a whole bunch of different brands and models and years. Until damn engineers decide to change it, and then it's a nightmare. But that would be the consistency part, right?
Yeah. Well, also now, and this, now you've gotten with cars now where the modular design is meant to preclude the reuse of module.
Yes.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
So it's been designed in such a way that you cannot. You go get that alternator now. It only fits one model, and maybe 3 or 4 years. Once in a while they'll make a mistake and forget to change it or something. But
yeah,
now they do that almost as a defense mechanism. They use that modular design as a defense mechanism almost to keep you locked into that ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, speaking of ecosystems, I'm sure there's a lot of examples we could quote there. Alex has a good point. He says Blab is probably developed in a modular approach. I think most software is these days, right? I mean, there's think of the internet, right? So the internet as a whole, the technology behind the internet is fairly modular, right? You got the code that is in one area with one type of technology. You've got the interface is HTML and CSS in another chunk, and then the content resides, in other folders in another chunk, and then the browsers are able to pull it all to get all three of those different modules together to make a cohesive experience.
Well, and also just look at the interface. You've got the module over. Well, to me, it's over there. Everybody's, is chatting. You've got the video here. I don't know if I'm in the same location for everybody else. I may be.
You're right there for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I may be pointing in just totally the wrong space. Everybody's looking.
I know. Nobody's over there.
There he is. And you're right there.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing. I was, as I have had this on my mind for a while, I've noticed that LG came out with a new phone that is now modular. The L5. Have you guys seen that?
That is actually an old idea.
Well, yeah, I'm certain it's an old idea, but I thought all companies sort of abandoned it especially with cell phones. I hadn't seen a modular cell phone in a long time.
So there's
I knew I could count on Anthony to actually have a modular device at his disposal.
That is this guy right here, the Rephone Create Kit.
Oh, I remember that.
So this is actually the phone module. This is the actual phone. I don't have it in here. I think I have it in my travel box. Otherwise, I'd pull that out and you can see it. So that's actually designed using the modules of, you've got your GSM, you've got your LCD, those are all modules. Then you can add modules to that based on if you want GPS, if you want Bluetooth, if you want, whatever else. You can just string all those together as modules. So it's part of the open hardware, or is it open handset platform? I forget the name of it. But there's been a few different efforts. I think LG, I haven't had a chance to really dig into this. But there are a couple of folks now that have commercial products out. And the idea is, you would buy what you need. You don't need Bluetooth, you don't get it. You need Bluetooth? Okay, get it. It snaps in, whatever. And you kind of Lego together your phone for what you need at whatever so you pay for what you're going to use as part of it. You only power what you're going to use. So that's actually been kind of a pipe, I shouldn't say pipe dream, it's been a dream for a while for a lot of us who don't want, every single thing in the box. Or maybe I have, I want NFC. I'm apparently the only person on planet Earth who wants NFC from Get NFC, damn it. I paid a lot of money for this. I can't use it at the conferences because none of you people turn on your NFC, okay? So
the magic ring.
So this modular design, that's LG is probably the most popular, to come forward with this, but it's been around for a while.
I had no idea. Yeah.
Raspberry modular. Yeah. Does that count?
Yeah. Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and here's his wireless USB, and here's his keyboard, and here's his circuit board, and here's his yeah, all kinds of stuff. And I need to do some more playing, but my time.
Yeah. So what have you got
Very
there?
modular.
This is turning into show and tell with nerds.
Right, really, isn't it? With the three of us,
Show
yeah.
and tell for L&D, right? Gotta love it.
So this is actually, I mean, this is the quintessential. So this is the GSM module with Bluetooth for the rephone.
Okay.
So this is the actual phone. The other bit, the LCD bit, phone. And this is the extension kit you can get with that.
Oh, cool.
Part of the Kickstarter. So you've got your NFC, yay. An Arduino compatible, or an Arduino derivative, the battery, GPS, LED, GSM, an LED flexi strip, so you can wear it around your wrist and it can light up when you get a call or whatever.
Nice. That was a Kickstarter.
Yes. That was.
Did they actually succeed?
Oh hell! I think they made their goal the first day.
Oh wow!
They actually announced during. They either announced during or right before the keynote at DevLearn. I was actually standing next to Craig Wiggins at the time, and I think we both put in our pledges like right there or over our smartphones.
Nice. All right, so let's circle this back around as we start to approach the 9 o'clock hour. So what is it that we can learn from all of these other industries or products that have been designed in a modular fashion?
Reuse is king.
Reuse is king. Excellent.
Content is still the base.
Say that again?
Content is still the base of anything. The content itself and the thing that gets into your brain, the content. That's still I'll stand with that.
Well, I guess I'll put the two together because with the modular design and the whole reuse and everything, you can always make sure that you're going to get the best content delivery possible because you can always Lego them together however you want. So if this module is not cutting the mustard, get rid of it, put another one in that will.
Yeah, exactly. And so we see that being successfully done in all of these other products, and obviously other industries have the same ideas that we have. So, one final comment about how we do it. When would you want to build an entire course from beginning to end with maybe course modules or sections and actually develop it as one fully contained experience, i.e. the way we used to do it? Is there a reason why we would want to do that anymore? Maybe
the storyboards, and then fill in the gaps on the storyboard as you get there.
Now, I mean, the whole course, though, is there a reason, or would there ever be a reason why we would want to build a course that is not modular? Maybe that's a better way to put it.
So I can think of two reasons. One is I've just finished my bottle of Courvoisier. The second is if I'm looking at something that's not compliance-based, it's not regulatory, it doesn't change very often. So this is a course I'm going to have for a while that I'm not going to have to change. How to open a door. It's probably not going to change anytime soon. Things that are real, of that nature, then yeah, probably. But as soon as you start looking at, well, this may change in a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, I'd walk away.
Maybe a modular design is a little bit more useful in that sense. I would think too that it's got to be giving the user the ability to decide has been another driver of why we even would do modular, right? I mean, we want we've always said we want to give the user or the learner control of the content or accessing the content. And if they're not able to sit through a whole hour's worth of content, maybe they've only got enough time to do a 10-minute module, and then the next day another 10-minute module, and then the next day another 10-minute module. If we only develop it as one big complete course, maybe it just makes it that much harder for the user to have a modular experience, when they can't do anything more. I don't know. Guess that rolls back around to us understanding our audience better and knowing what their needs are.
Yeah.
So anyways, so Alex wraps us up here with, depending on the topic, tech changes so fast, need to make sure it is up to date and relevant still. Yep, I think he's echoing your point, Anthony, for sure. And it is 8:56. Mark, let's start with you and we'll go around the horn. Where can people find you?
Sure. At eLearnGuy at eLearnGuy@gmail.com, and at Twitter at eLearnGuy.
Right up there. Anthony, where can we find you? More stuff.
I'm the perennial center square. Jim J. Bullock and I have taken up a place. Those of us old enough. I'm on the Twitters. AA_Altieri is probably the best place to find me.
All right, perfect. Excellent. So we're done for today. Thanks for joining me, you guys. This was a good conversation, and I took some good notes. So thank you for helping me put together my presentation coming up. I got a webinar coming up this month. You can, rats, I don't even remember the date off the top of my head. I should know these things. I think it's April 26th we're doing the webinar. Check out litmus.com. You can read my blog at litmus.com/blog. You can find me on Twitter at Schlenker or at Litmus on Twitter. And all the other fun places. Hit up the Facebook page. You can also find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's been a great hot place to have conversations lately as well. So it's all good stuff. And everybody enjoy your Monday. And we will see you tomorrow morning, same time, 8 o'clock Pacific time, Monday through Friday. Tomorrow will be Tech Tuesday. So we'll extend today's show and tell into tomorrow. How about that?
Cool.
All right, guys. Everybody have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Adios.